I'm going to go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It is September 2nd, 2020, and we will begin with our public statement. We, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, renew our commitment to welcome and protect the rights of all people, regardless of age, race, color, creed, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, economic status, and national origin. And we affirm the right of every person to live peacefully and without fear. And we will fight and resist at every step discrimination and harmful policies, whatever their source. We also stand in support of our county public school systems, both RBB and MCCSC. With that, I will note that we have a full board present. We have Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Gittens joining me today. And our next item is the departmental update section. And we will begin with Ms. Caudle from the Health Department. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to come back today and give you an update. Just really have a few things that I want to go over. We are continuing to work with our schools, both our public schools, K through 12, but also with the university and their testing and contact tracing, and with our Greek houses and other communal living facilities to provide additional guidance and direction in this time. I will say that the Board of Health met on Friday and did vote to take their communal living recommendations and turn them into actual regulations. So that was voted on Friday, and that was signed. The final document was signed this week, and we will get that posted. It has not been posted yet, but it has been voted on and approved and signed. The State Health Department is launching two new things this week. I believe that they are launching them today. One is a color-coded metrics, if you will, a table by county. So they have taken the information that is on the dashboard essentially and put it into some other new chart or dashboard that will be color-coded so that counties can look at that information and use that in helping to guide decisions and really highlight concerns. So I think they've got blue and red or something else. We did not get to preview it. We had been told we would get to preview it yesterday, but that did not happen. So I have not seen it to tell you exactly what it looks like. But we are excited to have more information on the dashboard, and anything that we can have that helps guide us or highlight information that we might be not looking at in the same way or something like that, we appreciate. They are also launching a campaign, a marketing campaign called Answer the Call, and that is to remind people of contact tracing and the number that they may receive if they're being called and that sort of thing. So just to remind people of the importance of talking with that person so that we can make sure that an individual who's tested positive truly understands what isolation is and how long they need to remain in isolation, can answer their questions. We can get close contact information so that those individuals can also be contacted and interviewed and advised on what quarantine looks like for them and where testing is and isn't beneficial in that system. So I am excited to see that, and we'll be sharing those links as the campaign for Answer the Call comes out. As we look at the past summer, the past spring, and reopening, then, you know, we've tried as a county to kind of move a little more cautiously than the state. Our gathering size limits have been smaller. We've really tried to take things slow while we still reopen. But as we look across the nation and the state and local jurisdictions, we know that after holiday weekends, spikes in cases have been seen. And so we want people to certainly enjoy this upcoming holiday weekend, but we want to remind everybody of the importance of being mindful about our activities, what we're doing, how we're doing them. Maintaining physical distance is so important, as well as wearing those face coverings, hand washing, and limiting the number of people that we are really coming in contact with and in close contact with. And a close contact is within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more. So keep that in mind. You know, most of our cases, and, you know, confirming this with the state, most of the cases are really coming from people in their social networks. And so it's important to remember that and to limit our social networks physically. We can certainly maintain our friendships and things, but we just need to think about how we're doing it, that we're staying as safe as we can so that we don't increase transmission of COVID-19. So if we all can avoid, you know, taking those extra risks, then we can avoid increases due to those activities, and that will help us as a community immensely. And the last thing that I would like to say is just to remember to be kind to one another. These are challenging times and they are stressful, and it can be easy for all of us to allow stress to come out in negative ways. So I would just ask that we take this Labor Day weekend and that we are kind to one another.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cottle. I appreciate the positive ending to your message today. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could explain for people who don't completely understand why it makes most sense when a Greek house has developed a number of cases, why the whole house should be quarantined.
Certainly, because when we are in communal living situations, and there are a variety of types of that, you have a whole house that's very close knit. And you could look at it even like long-term care facilities or jails, correctional facilities. They're very different, but we live close and we are in close contact. So the ability to maintain that 6 feet away from everybody at all times is really very difficult. So when we start seeing several cases in a house with additional identified close contacts, then we can look at that and say it is very unlikely that anyone in that house was not an actual close contact, even though they may have not been identified as one. And this is really an intervention to try to reduce that transmission and keep everybody as safe and healthy as possible and get us through this as quickly as possible.
Thank you.
No difficult answers, and they're difficult decisions for sure, and we recognize that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Comments, questions, Commissioner Githens?
Well, yeah. Could you explain the difference between going from recommendations to regs on these sorts of things? And also, did the Greek houses do some of the things that other places have done in terms of like special air purifiers?
Good questions. I think some of them may have done some of those things, or they are working on them. They certainly are sending us plans now for some of the things that they've done. We had recommended plans in our isolation and quarantine letter. We've asked for plans to go to the university and to us so that we can look at those. I will be honest with you, we haven't had a lot of time to dig into those deeply, but we are working with those houses, as is the university, and they are trying very hard. I don't want anyone to think that I know it probably feels like punishment to them, but it is not intended to be. And they are they are being great troopers and they want to keep everyone safe as well. So, you know, they're really taking the precautions that they need to take. They're doing their best, and we will continue to work with them, as will the university, on what they can do. Honestly, I think to some extent, and this would be true for most anybody, I don't think people really understand exactly what isolation or quarantine looks like until you're in it. And, you know, for a lot of people, I think we have a vision of what it may be, but we don't really know until we get there. In terms of recommendations to regulations, initially, and we worked with the university all summer on really making recommendations, providing guidance. And so the board came up with these recommendations earlier this summer, and it was August, so it wasn't super early, to really give them clear guidance. And the recommendations are, this is what we really want and think you should be doing. Going to regulations adds another layer of enforcement. If someone intentionally is not doing those things or trying to make those improvements, then there are options in terms of fines and those sorts of things. Again, we don't ever want to get there. We just want to work with them and provide them the best guidance and work with them to keep everyone safe. But the regulations come with a little more teeth, I guess, in terms of if someone isn't following those regulations, then there's other actions that can happen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I have a couple of quick questions. One is there a way to separate out the statistical cases from the campus from the remainder of the community?
Yes, but but we are still trying to get the exact information from the state on what that's going to look like. What I have been told, and we are seeing the university numbers come into the state website. So that's much of what we're seeing in terms of our increases, our increase in our 18 to 25-year-olds, our university testing. They're testing a lot of people. So, you know, it just takes a while to get that entered into the system. With the breakout, we want that information in there because they are part of our community. My understanding and what I have been told is that we will get a report or we'll have access to pull a report so that we can pull that information out and look and compare it, because that's also important. But I have to be perfectly upfront with everybody. I don't know exactly how that's going to work yet. I think that the state is still trying to figure out exactly how that's going to work, to be honest. And I'm hopeful that we'll get that soon. I know a lot of people are asking that. The Indiana University has put up their dashboard and they will be doing that weekly. I think it will be updated, I think on Wednesdays, if I'm not mistaken, but once a week they'll update that. So if nothing else, we'll be able to look at what's going on the campus and then look at what's happening and see if there's similar, if we're seeing an uptick in cases on the university, are we also seeing that as well? Right.
And I think that's going to be very important to see that transmission impact into the community at large. But at the same time, we don't want anybody to become complacent and think, well, it's on campus, it's okay. I mean, it's a permeable place. It is not a restricted environment, so.
Right, and we don't know, you know, this is certainly an infection that is very difficult. You're not going to know exactly where somebody got infected, where that exposure, we're going to identify where it looks like your exposure points were. But because asymptomatic spread and those kinds of things, it is often impossible to know exactly where someone became infected, when they became infected. And the first person who tests isn't necessarily the person, you know, they got it somewhere. And so a lot of times when we talk about communicable diseases, people think of the person who tested positive as being that index person, but they are not. and there just happened to be the person who tested first. So it is complicated.
Right. I appreciate that. And then lastly, could you talk about the exemption request and the complaint process and how that works with vis-a-vis the city's numbers? And
certainly, and I don't have current numbers so far this week, but for exemptions, and we are getting them, sometimes we don't know if they're within the city or the county, and then we have to figure that out. If it is an exemption for the city's executive order of a gathering size of over 15, that needs to go to the city. I believe the city legal department is handling those. If it is an exemption request in the county or at a commercial event, so a venue, a commercial event venue where you're paying rent, you're renting a facility, but you want to have a group size larger than what we allow currently, which is 100 indoors and it's 150 outdoors. Those are pretty large groups. But if you want something larger than that, you can file an exemption, and we will look at what you're doing to protect people, how, if your event is connected to an outbreak, how are we going to get in contact with those people, all of that sort of information. And we'll also look at what's going on in the community to make that determination on whether or not those are allowed. Most of what we've gotten have been things like weddings and things like that, and in commercial venues that have good precautions taken place. So I think people have been very careful, and they're taking good precautions. So that, I'm pleased to see that. In terms of complaints, we do have an online system people can access through the county's webpage. And so if you see that a business is, and I'm going to say intentionally being non-compliant with the health orders, they're not asking people to put on a mask, their staff aren't wearing masks, those kinds of things, and they're not correcting staff if they're not, then you can file a complaint and we will follow up on those as well. We start from a place of education and making sure that the businesses understand the rules and the regulations and what's in place, and working with them to come into compliance. That's, again, our goal. We don't want to issue fines or close people. That's definitely not our intent. But we also, I will go back to that kindness. We want people to recognize that if a business is doing their very best to be compliant, keep that in mind as you're making those complaints. So we have had people complain about places that we have not been able to confirm that they're in violation. It may be a single moment, it might be a specific time or something like that. And so it's a rare occurrence for that business. And we, again, when we get those complaints, we try to cover those things so that people can address them. But I will go back to be kind and mindful of what's happening around you and your situations. But we are following up on those complaints. And lastly, I will say, if you want more information about like legal authority and powers, I know that Margie Rice, our county attorney, is on here. If you want her to speak to that, I think she's always good at speaking to those things. So.
Right. Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate you answering all of these questions, and I'm sure the public is appreciative as well. And to see the forms for complaints or for an exemption, co.monroe.in.us. Ms. Rice, did you have anything you wanted to add for us today?
Yeah, real quickly, I will not geek out on the constitutional law or statutory authority of the health department, though I could, because it's frankly very interesting and it goes back a long way. But I do want to briefly address the health department's authority, because I know that there are people out there who are questioning it. Many people probably complaining on social media about, you know, coronavirus and the restrictions on people. So I just want to give a little snippet to reinforce what Penny said. Penny and the health department, I could not be prouder of the way in which they are handling their duties in this regard, and they are being extremely compassionate and reasonable, working daily with the university, with the school systems, and trying to keep people safe and doing it in the most compassionate way. Now, they aren't doing this because they want to or because they, makes them sort of giddy to restrict people's rights. They're doing this because they are statutorily required to do so. So there is an Indiana code, it's Indiana 1641-9. And it requires the health department, if they have reason to believe that an individual has been infected with or exposed to a dangerous communicable disease, and COVID clearly qualifies as a dangerous communicable disease, they are required to take a complaint and investigate it. And if they find evidence to believe that somebody may be transmitting disease or may be capable of transmitting disease, they are required to abate the conditions. And the statute goes on to say that the way they do that, and if they can't get compliance, then they're required to call in a county attorney to help back them up. And then what our job is as county attorney is to process this through the courts to get enforcement. We work with the Board of Health, we work with the health department, and obviously what Penny said about the regulations having a little bit more teeth, your code, your Monroe County Code, Chapter 305 says if somebody violates a health regulation, that's a Class C ordinance violation and can carry up to a $500 penalty. To my knowledge, no penalties have been issued because, again, the health department is trying to work hand in hand with people to keep them safe rather than punish them. But the public health law goes way back to the colonies. The first United States Supreme Court case was in the 1800s on this, and it basically gave really unlimited powers to local governments to keep people safe. These are the days when people were coming in on ships with the plague and yellow fever. And so the case law, all the way from the United States Supreme Court cases, and including the Indiana cases, make very clear that this is a local authority, a local police power, if you will, to keep people safe and healthy. Now, of course, we have to do it in a reasonable way because people still have their liberty interest. But the health department is being very thoughtful about how they're doing their work. And I also would like to say we have not had any real challenges to this authority, maybe because the case law and the statutory authority is so very clear. I would be very surprised if a lawyer called me and wanted to challenge this. I'd want to certainly point them to do their homework before they lodged a challenge, because when you're weighing an individual interest to say go shopping or to go out for a walk versus the public health, being protected from a disease like COVID that has ravaged the world, the courts are going to land in the court with public health, because this disease has caused so much damage, and the health department in its jurisdiction is working very hard to keep people safe. So again, if you get any challenges, if any constituents are questioning why is this happening and what's the legal authority to do it, please send them my way, and I will bore them with about an hour-long conversation about the constitutional authority that the health department has to keep people safe and what a great job they're doing. So if you have questions, I'm happy to entertain those.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Ms. Rice, and you're absolutely right. Our health department has been amazing. Ms. Caudill has been stellar throughout this entire pandemic. The health board, Dr. Sharp, everyone's done a great job. And this is about protecting the health of others in the community. It's about protecting. We saw the impact on businesses. We saw the impact on individuals. We cannot have that hospital overrun, because that's our last lifeline. So it's really about protecting our community at large, and they've done a fabulous job. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
Right now, thank you.
Commissioner Giffens?
No, thank you, Ms. Rice.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Ms. Allison Moore from Emergency Management. She is on the phone and needs to be unmuted.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Perfect. Thank you. Having a little technical difficulties this morning, and the AT&T is down in our area. So fortunately, we have another phone that's a different carrier, so I was able to hop on the phone. Technology is wonderful how we have different options. I wanted to report that the blood drive that we had August 24th was another huge success. And we have 4 additional blood drives scheduled. You can make an appointment on the redcross.org website now. It is up and available for the September 29th blood drive. We have 3 additional blood drives that are not yet available on the website for scheduling. I'm going to go ahead and announce those dates so that they can be held. They are October 14th, November the 9th, and December the 21st. And as those dates get a little closer, the Red Cross will have those available on their website to make an appointment if you could and wish to donate. And those are held at the Monroe County Convention Center between the hours of 10 to 3. And I also wanted to announce that I have said in calls before, in Zoom calls before, that we have a great allotment for our first responders of PPE supplies. And I feel really good about the upcoming months as we're prepared for that. But on top of that, the Indiana Department of Homeland Security allowed us to make an additional request beyond the supplies that we already have, if we wished and had the storage capacity to collect them. And so, of course, Monroe County was very eager to get. We are always eager to try to be as proactive as we can and get as many items as we can. And so I actually just got an email a few minutes ago that we would, in fact, be getting that allotment, and it is coming either Friday or Monday. So fortunately, that's coming soon, and then we will be able to shuffle those around and get those stored. And so I'm excited. I'm always excited when we get additional things. I always feel really comfortable, but the more, the better. So just wanted to announce that we have more N95 masks, gowns, gloves, and additional PPE supplies for our first responders. With that, we are also getting an additional disposable masks and cloth masks. So I know that we still have those readily available for our general public, and we have selected many spots throughout our county. We have those listed on our county website at co.monroe.in.us. And we have, like I said, a lot of those are ready, but it's always wonderful to take more. And so now we're getting just an additional allotment of those as well. So I'm happy to report that, and I will entertain any questions if you have. That's all I have today.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. We appreciate you. Commissioner Jones, comments or questions?
Yeah.
Commissioner Giffens?
Well, kudos for another successful blood drive. But I just want to put something on your radar to start to think about. At the primary election, we had people that were actually handing out masks at the polls for people who were coming in to vote. And just would like to know if we'll have enough of the masks that we could do that again at the general election. Just start to think about it.
We will have enough.
That would be fabulous.
We will have, and we are willing to try to work with the clerk's office and get those at all of the spots, as well as making sure that they have those for pre-election as well.
I know that it really made the election, the poll workers feel a lot better, that people, as they came to vote, were walking and wearing masks. So thank you.
Absolutely.
Great.
And one thing that we didn't have last time that we didn't have on hand was face shields. And so I do know that some of those poll workers did get a little bit of fluff. Of course, that was before the mask mandate at the time. But now we will also have those readily available as well. So if there is a person that couldn't potentially wear a mask and needed to go vote, we would also have those face shields on hand as well.
Nice.
Great. Yep, and I'm reading some things about FEMA limiting the distribution of cloth masks to communities. So I'm glad that you hopped on board and are ensuring that we have a good stock. So I appreciate your hard work every day, as always. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Ridge, Public Works Director, and Road and Traffic Update.
Good morning. So we are finishing paving Red Hill Road. We will be done there tomorrow. Next week we'll be back to, we kind of rotate each week. It's a short week next week, of course, with Labor Day. So we will be doing the pothole patching, mowing continuously around the county. I know and you all are probably getting a lot of phone calls for paving requests and things like that, as you know, we're at the end of August, and right around the corner will be snow. So, you know, we have about 2 or 3 months left of an asphalt plant being open. I do want to stress that we did lose 3 months of paving due to social distancing, having one person in a vehicle, not having full crews to be able to work together. And that's a necessity. It's a has to be able to run a paving operation. Also, of course, over a 3-month period, our funding decreased with the stay-at-home orders, with people not on the roads and driving. Then that decreases people buying the gas tax. So we're doing the best we can to stretch our dollars, but then also get some paving done. We do have our 3 community crossing projects still to be done. I just emailed the contractor for that, which is E&B Paving, for a schedule. I expect that to be any day, which would be the Hart Strait Road, the remainder of Bolting House, and the northern piece of Old State Road 37 North. And then we'll work our way down each year on that road. So we're getting paving done the best we can and utilizing the funds that we have, but it is hard because we did lose a 3-month window there with the pandemic and the changes. So again, we also have on our website where you can go and report any potholes, mowing requests, tree limbs, anything of that nature on the county website, and we document every one of those requests. That's all I got.
Great. Thank you so much, Ms. Ridge. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Giffens?
No, just thank you for always being so responsive.
Oh, no problem. That's not always the answer anybody likes to hear, but as I told you in your email this morning, I'll be honest. I'm not out to, I can't tell everybody we can pave the roads. We wish we could. But we're trying, you know, it's just been a little over a year and a half. And then we've had a pandemic, we've had tornadoes, we've had everything you can think of, it seems like, since we came on board. But we're working on it. We're working for a better program and how we can utilize the funding better. And community crossings, you know, it's our always goal to put in funding requests for that, which we've been very fortunate to always receive those funds. But the July call was canceled due to the pandemic. So the next call will be in January. So it'll be our hopes to put in paving projects for that again too. So it just kind of is a trickling effect. So I just want the county taxpayers to know that. And if the commissioners get phone calls and such, please send them our way. Like I said, we'll be honest with them. But that's the true story. So.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate you and the crews and all their hard work, and Mr. Turner as well, of course. Thank you for the update, and we will be seeing you shortly. And with that, we have Mr. May here. Greg May is here to talk about the Stride Center. So if we could get him on for an update. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. Thanks for allowing me to join. I was supposed to come to this meeting in July, but then I was out with COVID for a while, so I'm back in the swing of things. I'm happy to report that the Stride Center opened on Monday, August 24th, so last week. So we're beginning our second week of operations this week. I'll say it's off to a slow start, which I think is expected because it's a new program. At this point, we've had 2 guests. We've had a number of law enforcement officers come through for tours and to ask questions and just kind of check out the facility. For people that may not be familiar with the Stride Center, it's a 24/7, 365 kind of operation that is providing a safe, low barrier environment focused on harm reduction and trauma-informed care approaches to people that are experiencing a period of crisis. It's modeled, I would say, similarly after a law enforcement assisted diversion program, if you're familiar with that concept. So law enforcement officers encounter people before Stride, and probably still now to some degree, when law enforcement encounters someone and there's not a good option, like a place to divert them, they typically go to jail or to the hospital. Neither of those are good options because there's often a service need for that person that goes unmet. So the Stride Center really is about connecting that person with the service that they need to prevent, further interaction with law enforcement or unnecessary use of the emergency room. So we're working with IU Health through the emergency department, their police force, and then the other police agencies in Monroe County to provide training and just talk about the type of service that we are providing, and then to make sure that law enforcement officers understand the process. The other sort of point of value, I think, is that bringing someone to the Stride Center is about a 3 to 5 minute process for the officer, whereas taking someone to jail or taking them to the emergency room depends on the number of people that need to be booked into the jail, which could be several hours, and the same thing with the emergency room. Depending on the status of the person when they come in, if they come in on an emergency detention or some other kind of order that requires an officer to stay present with that person. I'll stop there and see if there are questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. May. We appreciate you. I'm glad you've recovered. And Commissioner Jones, comments or questions?
Yes, well, it's very exciting that this is opened and is up and running, and hopefully will become more and more successful with time. Are the law enforcement officers excited about this? Are they, do you think they'll make good use of it?
I think so. We've had interactions so far with the Indiana University Police Department, so kind of the police department that's on campus, the downtown resource officers, and Bloomington Police Department, and then a couple officers from the Sheriff's Department have come over for tours. The staff are good at watching out the door to see if we see law enforcement officers kind of hanging out in that area because they will sometimes be there waiting for other things. So the staff have done a really great job going out and engaging those officers and getting them to come into Stride Center to talk about it, offer coffee to them, give them a tour, and I believe that that's what's been helpful in kind of spreading the word amongst the other officers in the community. The other thing is that I believe Commissioner Jones, to your point, that the pace will pick up and we will have greater use of it. But we also this is a new place and concept for the community. We've not kind of done this before, so there's that trust and rapport building that has to happen, with the officers, that we're going to take care and provide a service to these folks that they're bringing. But then we also have to do that rapport building with the guests, that are coming in, because typically when you encounter the police and the police say, I'm going to take you to this place, it's not a place, where we're going to provide, care to them in a person-centered, trauma-informed way. That's actually going to look at what is, perhaps the social issue that led you to encounter the police. So there's a lot of rapport and relationship and trust building that has to go on with the people that we depend to bring folks to the Stride Center, but then also the guest once they arrive there.
Very good. Well, hopefully this is something that the whole community can grow into and come to appreciate and really use.
Yeah, I hope so.
Comments or questions, Commissioner Githens?
This sounds like one of those situations where success breeds success, that the more we start to get people through, they're successful, then the more we'll get buy-in. But kudos. It's really nice that it's there.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful for all the community partners. There's so many, I can't mention them all, because if I start mentioning them, I'm going to forget somebody and it's going to be really bad and embarrassing. So there are a lot of community partners that have been involved in making this a reality. And since these folks are on screen, I'd like to thank Centerstone, and I'd like to thank my colleagues on the board for all your hard work to help make this a success. And we look forward to seeing the impact, the positive impact for our community. Great. Thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you guys. And if there are, questions, or you haven't been for a tour and you want to come for a tour, just reach out and we will be happy to get that scheduled.
Right. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Thank you guys.
And with that, are there any other department heads that have an update for us today?
There do not appear to be any hands raised.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Dayton. So we'll move on to public comment, and this will be for items that are not on our agenda, limited to 3 minutes. Ms. Dayton, if you could sound the audio tone for us so that the public knows what to expect.
I will, but I just noticed that there was one hand raised by Barty Hawk. I believe that was for department updates. I apologize.
Okay, let's go back and do that. Ms. Hawk, did you have an update for us?
No, I had a question about the Stride Center, but I can always call you back later. I'm just trying to see where it might be budgeted for security for that area, or if there's someplace we need to be adding on for that.
Security specifically. So let's we can get back to you with an answer on that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, because there are a lot of moving parts and a lot of different contributions. Some of them from Monroe County, some of them not. So yes, we will. We can get back to you with an answer on that for sure. Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilor Hawk. Thanks for joining us today. Okay, so with that, we will go on to public comment. Ms. Dayton, would you sound the audio? Great. So for anybody who wishes to offer public comment for items not on our agenda, at 2 minutes, 30 seconds, you will hear that tone. That means you have 30 seconds left to complete your statement. Does anybody here have public comment to offer for items not on our agenda?
Now there do not appear to be any hands raised.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ms. Dayton. We will go ahead and move on to the next item, please.
Move approval of the minutes for August 26th, 2020.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Comments, additions, corrections from the board?
I wanted to thank Ms. Freeman for including the Women's Equality Day proclamation in the minutes.
Yeah, for sure. That seems like that was 3 weeks ago, but I know it was only last week. Time flies. All right, very good. And with that, Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on approval of minutes for August 26, 2020?
Yes, Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Giffens.
Yes.
Minutes are approved 3-0.
Thank you, Mr. Cockrell. Next item, please.
Move approval of the claims docket, accounts payable, September 2nd, 2020.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and we have a second. I don't see Mr. Miller on our call.
He was here earlier.
Yes. Huh. Is there anyone here from the auditor's office who can speak to this item? Ms. Gregory's on.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Gregory.
Good morning. The accounts payable claims total today is $954,626.42. Three notable claims included in that. We have $83,900 for Aztec Engineering Group, $32,399.75 for E&B Paving, and then $38,499.23 again for E&B Paving.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Gregory. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
No.
Commissioner Giffens?
No.
All right, thank you. Thank you again, Ms. Gregory. Is there any public comment on this item?
There did not appear to be any hands raised.
Thank you, Ms. Dayton. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on approval of the claims docket, accounts payable September 2nd, 2020?
Yes, Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Claims are approved 3-0.
All right, thank you so much. I will note that we have received reports from the clerk of the circuit court, July 2020, and weights and measures report, July 16th to August 15th, 2020 as well. And so now we will move on to new business, please.
Move to approve ratification of Midwest absentee ballot agreement, fund name Election Fund, fund account 1215-0010-30006, in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Martin, what can you tell us about this?
Good morning. If you're not familiar with Midwest, it's a company that the clerk's office utilizes to help get our stuff out the door quicker. A ballot, if we mail it at our local post office, goes to the hub in Indianapolis. It could take 7 days for a ballot to be sent from our office to reach the voter in Monroe County. With Midwest, it takes roughly 2 to 3 days. So we're getting the ballot into the person's hand quicker. Their service cost us $4,000. I think I made it confusing on my application. We're taking $2,000 out of 2 different accounts. Voter registration contractual and election contractual. The $25,000, we're going to take that out of the clerk's postage fund. So the postage of $25,000 is what it would normally cost us to do this mail of ballots. The $4,000 is what they charge us to do the coding and basically skip the hub in Indianapolis.
Okay, so so we should revise our motion.
It should be $4,000.
$4,000 because the $25,000 is not being paid by Midwest. It's not part of this contract.
No, ma'am. That
Okay.
we have to prepay that.
Great, thank you. I will make a motion to amend the original motion to a total amount of $4,000 split between the election fund and voter registration in the 30s.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of amending the motion, signify by saying aye. Oh, we can't do that. Jeff Cockrell, would you call the roll on this?
Yeah, the motion to amend, Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Amendment passes 3-0.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so comments or questions on this item? Commissioner Jones?
Well, thank you very much. I know that there was a problem with the primary with people getting their ballots on time, which almost certainly was not a problem there in your office, but more of a problem with the post office, which we're all hearing a lot about lately. So thank you very much for taking this precaution. And I'd just like to remind everyone that if you want to vote absentee, send in your application early.
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Githens, comments or questions?
So would you explain the coding part and is Midwest actually taking everything up to Indianapolis or does it all
Yes.
stay here?
No, it doesn't stay here. They pick it up every day. We have a set time. They pick it up, they take it to Indy. They do all the pre-coding, which then the post office comes down and picks it up from Midwest. So instead of the post office taking it to their location and doing the barcoding to say, where the zip codes are, Midwest does that. So it takes out the hub part of the U.S. Postal Service. That kind of make a little bit more sense. And then it goes back to the post office, and then instead of them having to code it, they just scan it and it goes. So instead, like I said, so instead of 7 days for it to sit around at the hub, it hits quicker. I can't get the people to return the ballots quicker. I haven't figured out that part yet, but I can get it into their hands quicker.
We will continue to. It's the barcode.
Those funky little barcodes on the bottom of the envelope is what we're talking about.
Yeah, and of course, all of that only works if there are sorting machines. So, but we'll leave that for another discussion.
I don't want to hear that part.
Don't even hear it. Yep, no, don't want to hear it. I got you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And let's see if there's any public comment on the amended motion.
There are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dayton. With that, Mr. Copper, will you please call the roll on the amended motion to ratify the Midwest absentee ballot agreement?
Yes, Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Amended motion passes 3-0.
Thank
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Martin. We appreciate you and all the hard work we know you're already doing and will be
Thank you,
doing.
love.
Thanks. All right, with that, we will move on to the next item, please.
Move to approve a letter of engagement with Wagner Irwin Scheel, Inc. Fund name County General, Fund number 1000 in the amount of $98,720.
Second.
Great. Thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Ms. Rice.
Morning. So I want to give a little bit of background on this. The county council is statutorily mandated to fix the compensation of officers, deputies, and employees who are paid from the funds within the county, and for those, all of the funds where the county auditor issues warrants for compensation. In addition to that mandate, the statute goes on to say that they have to fix the number of officers, deputies, and employees. They have to describe and classify their positions, and they have to adopt schedules of compensation. The statute, this is a kind of a weird Indiana code statute because normally, as you know, you guys sign all the contracts for the county. This statute specifically says that the power is included for the council to hire or contract with persons to assist in the development of schedules of compensation. So the council has decided to go ahead and sign a contract, and it has been approved by the county council, and it has been approved by Wagner and Sheely to go ahead and review all of the compensation schedules and the job descriptions for the county. This is a process that the county went through in about 2006, had everything sort of in alignment, but it has not been maintained since then. And recent reviews showed that there were issues with job descriptions. Many departments, including the clerk's department and the planning department, have asked for their entire department to be reclassified. Many departments feel like the compensation schedules are low. I know that's something that you guys have addressed as well. So today we're, the contract, again, as I said, has already been executed by the parties of the contract, but we're bringing this to you today because the council wishes to work collaboratively and in communication with the commissioners. This does affect a lot of your employees, and your employees have really asked for this work to be done because they think their schedules of compensation are low. They think their job descriptions are not correct. And so sort of as a courtesy, again, Ken Irwin told me many counties do not take this contract to their commissioners, but we like to operate differently in Monroe County. We like to work collaboratively between our council and commissioners. So we're bringing this to you. If you feel like it's worth approving and to show your support and show your recognition that this is something that needs done, feel free to approve it. If you don't, and you just want to recognize that this contract is a thing, that's also fine. Legally, it's going to go forward. But again, I think it's important for the commissioners to recognize that this is something that the departments have been complaining about, and it's caused a lot of work for PAC. And there's my dog barking in the background. Sorry about that. And so hopefully it's going to be about a 9-month process. It'll get wrapped up, and the results of this can be ideally implemented with the 2022 budget. And if schedules of compensation need to be addressed, I know there are some council members who are reluctant to promise anything because, you know, it's all dependent upon funds. But, you know, those schedules of compensation could also be addressed in that budget year, or at least beginning that budget year. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
Well, I'd like to thank the council for collaborating with us on this. I think it really is rather important for our employees and departments. From the time that I was on the council and served on the PAC committee, I became aware of the fact that the county's job descriptions really are in need of professional look and kind of fixing them up a bit. When I was still there, we were trying to get the department heads to do this, but it was really turning into a pretty big chore for them. So I'm very pleased that the council is taking this step at this time. It's really been needed for a long time.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes, I'm also pleased that they came before us, but I also want to acknowledge that if this hasn't been done in a dozen years or more, a lot of technology has changed during that time. So the skill sets that people have to have are very, very different from what they would have needed the last time this job classification went through. I'm also pleased that the option that County Council chose includes looking at compensation for the elected officials.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that that's an issue, and as you say, the technology has changed. I think that's one of the reasons the clerk's office is asking for everything to be reviewed in their office, because technology has certainly changed the way they do their work. And so there will be desk audits that will be involved. And I think that, you guys also have, you do the personnel policy, and HR is run through the commissioner's office now. And we are definitely going to involve Elizabeth Sensenstein with HR in this project, looking at organizational charts, because there's always some thought that, hey, we could do this in-house and save money. There's a benefit to having a professional, as Commissioner Jones mentioned, and there's also a benefit to having some objectivity from outside the county, so that there's no hint of favoritism or of, one department gets something because they sort of know how the system works and know how to do it. So the benefit of having an outside party is that they can check us. And to the extent that you guys have input or thoughts about this project as it goes along, I know that the council will want to hear from you. So please let us know.
Okay, I just have a couple of quick comments, one of which is this is a huge amount of money, and it's very concerning. I've heard the explanation that, well, we don't really have, a full HR department, et cetera, so this is an additional cost. But, we contract with Wagner Irwin Sheely annually. We spend money with them annually. I don't understand, and I asked for two things. First, I asked that the council, if they want to spend this money, I get it. I've heard great explanations. I've heard, I understand. And yes, our employees need it. Please do two things. First, please, let's not have to do this massive overhaul again. And that just means we need to figure out how to keep this system up once it's in place. The second thing is, I hope that there isn't a delay. And I understand budgets change, and every year we hear about how money is tight, and we know money is tight, and we understand that. But if you're going to do this, please do everything you can to prioritize compensation for all of our employees. But I will also add, just on a personal note, that if you're going to continue to pay the coroner and the county commissioners as part-time people, that's wrong. And that needs to be addressed sooner than 2022 because it's not right. So with that, let's see if there is any public comment on this item.
There are no hands raised.
Thank you. We don't have any public comments, so we'll return for a vote. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the Wagner-Irwin-Sheely contract?
Yes, Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
The contract is approved 3-0.
Thank you. I will be sure to share those comments with council members because I think they're definitely valid, and I will make sure that they're known. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Ms. Rice, for being here today. Thank you. And we'll move on to the next item, please.
Move to improve Impact Solutions Agreement regarding Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative, Fund name JDAI Programming, Fund number 9145, in the amount of $8,500.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. And it looks like we have, do we have somebody here from probation to present this item?
I don't know if I received a name for someone from probation. If you can put a name in chat, I'll be happy to promote them.
Ms. Purdy or Mr. Cockrell, do you have?
There's a Jeff Hartman. Is that who it's supposed to be?
There's Mr. Hatfield. Excellent. Thank you. Great.
Yeah. Hi, Commissioners. Jeff Hartman is actually supposed to be presenting this topic for you guys. If I don't know if he is on there.
He's not. Yeah. Oh, no,
Hello?
he is now.
He is.
He is now. Yes, we're good. Okay. Mr. Hartman.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hatfield.
Sorry. Good morning, all. Hope you're all well. Yeah, Jeff Hartman here, Monroe County Juvenile Probation, here to address the statement of work that we had submitted in reference to the JDAI grant funds that is 100% funded by this grant. And this is a contract that we're trying to enter with Impact Solutions that will help enhance our data.
Great. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
Not at this time.
Comments or questions, Commissioner Githens?
Yes, I had sent a couple of questions to Linda Brady yesterday, and so I don't know if she's shared those with you.
Go ahead and ask them. Go ahead and ask them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how will the data from the new dashboard be utilized?
Well, in several different areas, it helps us create a data culture through assessment and implementation of development strategies, and it'll help us develop skills for the technical aspect and the software visualization that we'd present. It enhances our communication data where we can engage in further data visualization, customize reports and information and graphics that we present to committees. It'll allow us to have a take action plan where we kind of create some policies and procedures, program monitoring, and data informed action plans. And finally, it'll allow us to be data champions, do fundamentals, visualization, and design and delivery. It's all about drilling down a little bit further within the dashboards, addressing our alternative to detention utilization, our rates of admission, summary of referrals, admissions and screening, and just their overall ability to review juvenile data.
So will this help develop new programs aimed at specific groups? And if so, can you give us an example or two of what that would look like? I believe data is there for a purpose.
Well, the data helps us address areas of concern, such as if we're detaining a certain subgroup. So I don't know that it'll actually help us develop programs, but it'll help develop new ways to implement referrals and how we respond.
Implement referrals.
Well, when we get referrals, you know, presently on like a misdemeanor, we respond in a certain fashion. Well, a deeper dive might look at certain offenses in a different lens for a different response. Does that help?
Well, I still don't hear something really firm I can just put my head around kind of thing, you know.
Well, that's why we're embarking on this, to open our lenses so that we can see a little bit more of a deeper dive than we're actually getting right now with our data. And until we actually get trained on how to pull this data and review it and respond, that's the starting point.
Commissioner Gibbons, if I may, this is Troy Hatfield, a Deputy Chief Probation Officer. One of the things that I think this will really help us with is help guiding us in terms of giving us more information and developing policies and procedures. So like Mr. Hartman was saying, give us a deeper dive into the data. So one of the ways that we'll use some of this analysis is looking at, for example, probation violations. If we find that youth who are violating their probation are being sent to detention at higher rates, we can take a look at some of those youth, exactly why they're being sent, what are some of the causes and reasons behind that, and help develop some policies and procedures on how we could address that and possibly mitigate some of the things that are happening so that we can keep those youth in the community rather than respond to them by sending them to detention. This hopefully Impact Solutions will help us in terms of gaining a better understanding of the data that we have and giving us some new ways of looking at it so that we can make some informative decisions on how to move forward.
So you might be able to say, okay, people that live in this pocket within Monroe County don't have transportation. And so we need to start to look at that.
Yes, I mean, it could be a variety of things like that that we might be able to find in terms of taking a deeper dive into what's going on with some of these cases where we're seeing trends of maybe increases in detention use or maybe where we're seeing higher rates of violations, just depending on what's there. We'll use that information to help guide us in terms of decision making. And that way we're not just throwing darts at a dartboard willy-nilly, we're actually targeting our responses and targeting the interventions that we're using to the youth that need it most. And that we're very precise in the ways that we're handling some of these issues so that we can keep our community safe, so that we can keep our youth in our community and keep families intact.
Great. I'm very interested in the intervention part of it, so thank you.
Thank you both, Mr. Hartman and Mr. Hatfield. Can you provide a little information for the public on how JDAI programming, Juvenile Detention Alternatives programming, how that is funded?
It's Jeff Hartman again. The JDAI funds are from the state and the Department of Corrections, 100%.
Thank you. All right. With that, is there any public comment on this item?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dayton. Mr. Copper, will you please call the roll on Impact Solutions Agreement regarding Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative?
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Commissioner Jones,
Yes.
Commissioner Githens.
Yes.
Agreement is approved 3-0.
All right, thank you so much. Our next item, we won't need a motion for. I'm just going to turn this over to Mr. Schilling. This was on the agenda as ordinance 2020-08 Holland Pines rezone. Mr. Schilling, can you tell us about this?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Dave Schilling from the Legal Department, and my report is a difficult one to deliver and will be a difficult one for some to hear, but the facts are these. During its February 18th, 2020 meeting, the Plan Commission voted to forward the Holland Pines rezone to the commissioners with a favorable recommendation. The Plan Commission recommendation was certified to the commissioners on February 21st, 2020. The Indiana Code provisions on rezoning state that if a rezone proposal receives a positive recommendation from the Plan Commission and is not acted on within 90 days of certification, the rezone takes effect as if it had been adopted. And sadly, the county staff dropped the ball and did not place the Holland Pines rezone on the commissioner's agenda for action within the 90-day period. As a result, it is my opinion that the Holland Pines rezone has taken effect by operation of law, and there is no need for further action by the commissioners. This oversight has foreclosed both the opportunity for further meaningful public comment on the petition, and it has foreclosed the ability of the commissioners to express their legislative will on the matter. And as a member of county staff, I apologize to the public and to the commissioners for the oversight and the result.
Thank you, Mr. Schilling. We appreciate your explanation and the apology. And any comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
Just that we are really, really sorry that this happened. It certainly, it was an oversight. The entire county staff has been juggling so much since COVID hit that it's not too surprising that something or other got dropped. I'm just very, very sorry that this is what did get dropped.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Githens?
Yes, I actually went back and watched the work session where we first heard about this, and it was the next week that COVID started to hit. And it's been hard. And while none of us are happy about this, it is what it is today, I guess.
Thank you both for your comments. I also, I remember the decision was made to try to have an evening meeting, a special meeting specifically for this item because we had heard from so many neighbors. And I know some of those concerns have been alleviated, and I'm grateful for that through discussion with our drainage, stormwater and drainage areas in county government. But I would like to, on behalf of the board, offer apologies to all of the public. And I would like to see if anyone from the public wishes to speak on this item still, even though we are not required to take public comment. Let's see if there is any on this item.
There are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you.
One hand just showed up.
Okay. Mr. Hayes?
Okay, I think I need to unmute. Hang on a second.
We got you. We hear you.
All right, good. Well, I live right around the corner from this project, and the developer did make several concessions to the neighbors, and I can't speak for the other neighbors, but I think that the plan as proposed is much more palatable, and we appreciate the efforts of the developer and all involved, the commission, Plan Commission, and you all as well. So maybe not all may not be lost.
Thank you, Mr. Hayes. We appreciate your kind words, and I appreciate you being here today and spending time with us and waiting for this item to come up. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that wishes to offer comment on this agenda item?
Now there are no hands raised.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dayton. So I just have one request. I know we have Ms. Bierman here from the planning department, and I just have a request that if you would, if someone on staff would please go through and review the last 90 days of Plan Commission decisions and ensure that everything is being forwarded to us appropriately. I would appreciate that, and I would do it, but I don't have time for this right now. We have way too much going on. So if somebody could in the planning staff do that, I know we would all appreciate it greatly. Would you mind passing that along, Ms. Bierman?
Yes, I can make sure that we go through our database and make sure that no other petitions have any lingering issues.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I appreciate both you and Mr. Schilling being here today. Deepest apologies to everyone in Monroe County, and it will not happen again if we can help it. So we'll move on then to item E, please.
Move to approve American Structure Point, Inc. Amendment number 6 for Hunters Creek Road Project, Phase 2 and 3. Fund name, local road and street. Fund number 1169 in the amount of $34,900.
Second.
Right, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Ridge, what can you tell us about this?
Hello. So we have phase 2 and 3 of Hunters Creek. It's going to letting in January. This is when the original project was set up in 2012. That's when they do the original Rule 5 and the 106, the archaeological studies, and the whole corridor. So since it's broken into phases, then for the project.
Okay, I thought maybe it was my internet, but you dropped out, your audio dropped out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So in the original corridor study for Hunters Creek in 2012, they do the whole corridor, but then it was broke down into phases. So this is for the additional work for the corridor that's kind of been put on hold to make sure that we're in compliance with all the archaeological and Rule 5 permits.
Great. We heard you perfectly clearly that time. So I think the key is to stay exactly where you were just then. So perfect. Good job. Thank you. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
This just really shows how difficult and long and complex these projects can become. And just thank you to you and your department for persevering and keeping at it.
Thank you. Not sure how we do it, but we try.
Commissioner Githens?
Yeah, just thank you also.
It's just a great visual for this is the old circus act of the spinning plates on the poles, and you keep a lot of plates spinning and they don't drop, so good for you. So thank you for all your hard work on this. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item.
There are no hands raised.
Thank you, Ms. Dayton. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on American Structure Point, Inc. Amendment number 6 for Hunters Creek Road Project Phases 2 and 3?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Githens?
Yes.
Amendment is approved 3-0.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's go with the next item, please.
Move to approve NDOT change order number 6 and 8 for Fullerton Pike Phase 2, fund name, local road and street, fund number 1169 in the amount of $11,134.80.
Second.
Great, we have a motion and we have a second. Ms. Ridge?
Okay, so change order number 6. This is for Fullerton Pike, phase 2, of course, out and the bridge. And so change order number 6 in the amount of $5,449.76. This was to change the concrete and the truck apron of the roundabout, and that was per our request, so we could get a more get a little bit more decoration aesthetics for that roundabout. And then also change order number 8 is in the amount of $5,685.04. So when we did our punch list walkthrough at the end of this project, there was some guardrail transition at the end of each bridge. And we felt it was too close to the multi-use path and the concrete sidewalk, which we thought could create a potential hazard in the future. So we're going to have 2 inch by 8 inch wood rails installed at each of those locations just to prevent that happening. So, and these are participating items with NDOT, so they would be at an 80-20 pay.
Okay, thank you so much. And just to clarify, the local road and street total amount is $11,134.80.
So the total amount, the reason why I don't think I split that out. The reason why I did not split that out to show what the local match was is because I'm waiting word to make sure that these were participating items with NDOT. So I just anticipated the most amount of being Monroe County's responsibility, but it would actually be the 20% of the $11,134.80. And that amount is $2,226.96.
Great, thank you so much. Comments? Thank you for doing that math on the fly. You're good. Commissioner Jones, comments or questions?
This is yet another project that shows us how complex these things are. I may not be remembering completely accurately, but I think I first started hearing about this project 20 years ago.
Yes, I'm sure you did. It was in the original master thoroughfare plan. I do know the copy I have is back in 1995. And then the first actual Fullerton Pike DES number is in 2009. So it's taken us since 2009 to get 2 of the phases built. So
right.
Talking 11 years.
Right. Comments or questions, Commissioner Giffens?
No, I appreciate the fact that part of this really is looking at safety too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I will note that, you know, this on the one hand, that does seem like, wow, that's been 11 years, that's taken far too long. But on the other hand, for area residents, they wanted the project slowed down even more, and we've had a number of great meetings with area residents and made some amazing changes because of their input, and all of that takes time. And I'm glad we took the time, because we did make some substantive, important changes to the project. So, and I appreciate your staff's and your work throughout the whole process too.
Yeah, and you know, of course, design phase 3 is under design. It's got a huge bridge, so most of that'll be out of our major bridge fund. But you know, I think it'll, in the end, it'll have a great corridor and have the great bridge railings that we have on phase 2 bridge. And to me, that turned out to be a gorgeous bridge, and the pedestrian safety of that and having the barrier in between traffic and the pedestrians was just an added bonus.
Yeah, absolutely. Great work. Thank you so much. And with that, let's see if there's any public comment on this item.
There are no hands raised.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Dayton. Mr. Cockrell, will you please call the roll on the NDOT change order number 6 and 8?
Yes. Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Commissioner Jones.
Yes.
Commissioner Giffens.
Yes.
Change order is approved 3-0.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We have a few announcements. Most of the information's been covered by Ms. Caudill and Ms. Moore at the beginning of the meeting. So check back on CATS to find some great information on our health and how emergency management is helping us respond to COVID. I will note that that so far, and these would be figures from a week ago, we are making CARES funding available to county businesses and social service organizations anywhere in the county to help reimburse them for COVID-19 expenses that are non-payroll related that have not already been covered through a loan, a grant, or other funding mechanisms. And as of last week, we had 36 initial applications. 16 of those were completed for a total of $55,000. And we also provided about $19,000 to the library as a taxing unit, because the CARES funding is also being offered to taxing units that have not already received that funding. So that's a great start, but if you applied and you haven't heard back, please contact the email address on our website, co.monroe.in.us. I also want to note that as of last week, we had the announcement from the Township Trustees Association that they had used about $12,000 so far of the $100,000 that has been allocated to date to help residents ensure that they continue to have shelter and utilities and the basic necessities of life. If you are any county resident has a township trustee, whether you live in the city or not, please contact your trustee if you are struggling to make ends meet, to provide shelter, and to have utilities operating. We worked with the county council, the board of commissioners worked with the county council to provide funding to help cover those expenses, because township trustees did not budget for this pandemic, as no one else did either. And so please be proactive. Don't wait till the last minute. We do want to thank everyone for wearing face coverings in public. It is a sign of caring and respect for the community. It helps protect our local businesses and helps keep them open. And with that, I want to see if my colleagues have anything else they wish to add. Commissioner Gittens?
I just want to remind people too that the court system has an eviction mediation process that can help with things, and it's up and active again. So lots of ways to stay in shelter.
Right, absolutely. And just a reminder to everyone that you must register to vote by October 5th. Visit indianavoters.com to see your registration status, and you can apply online as well. But October 5th, believe it or not, is coming up quick. So please ensure that you're registered to vote. You can also find voting information there and at monroecountyvoters.us. So please ensure that that you stay connected and civically engaged with your community during this really terrible pandemic. Your voice is more important than ever. With that, if there's nothing else, our meeting is adjourned, and we can see if there's any other comments or questions that come in post-meeting here.
There are no hands raised.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone. Be well, and thank you for joining us today.